Hi, I'm Florette, and today we're going to have some fun with some Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers and some Tombow markers. And the reason I'm doing this video is I can't tell you how many times people ask me which markers I prefer. So I thought this would be a great way to show you. You can see side by side how the markers blend, how the colors vary, so that you can then decide for yourself which marker you like best. So let's get started. Today we're going to be using the stamp set Gerbera Daisies, and this is a really beautiful stamp set. You've got some really big daisies and all the way down to some really small ones. You've got a little heart, you've got a lot of sentiments like you are the best, you are beautiful, you are my friend, I love you, you are amazing. So there's so many things you can do. There's different flowers and you've got lots of leaves. So the combinations you could do with this stamp set are really endless. So I thought this would be a nice one too because it's a big surface area, great for coloring, and that we could use this to color side by side using the markers. So I'm going to set this aside. I've already gone ahead and put this flower on our block. And whenever you're using watercolor markers, because both these markers are watercolor markers, you want to make sure that you use a waterproof ink. And this one is one of my favorite. It works really great. So I'm just going to stamp out 4 flowers on here so that we can compare side by side the flowers and the markers. So I've gone ahead and marked one side Tombow and one side Zig. This will be marker and marker on the top, and the bottom I'll be doing the color marker with water. Alright, so first I've gone and picked out some colors that are very comparable. Like you can see here, this Tombow 703 is very comparable to the number 003 on the Zig. So we're going to go ahead and color these flowers in this really pretty pink and purple. So I'm going to start with the pink, and I'm just going to color in towards the bottom here, going upwards. Have my lighter color at the bottom. Then I'm going to take my purple and blend it into the pink. And I think this is a really pretty color combination. You can see it blends very nicely, and I'm going to go and just kind of blend this edge just a little more just so it blends in together. I'm going to go ahead and color the greens in as well on the flower, and what I've got here is I'm going to start with the Tombow, the lighter color, and I'm going to color this in here. This marker is Tombow 133, and I'm going to put a little darkness at the end there, which is 126. Now you can use these marker colors for yourself too, just because they blend really nicely together. It's a great little example, I thought, for color choices as well. These are some of my favorites. Alright, so I'm going to do the same thing with the Zigs. This is the 033, and I'm going to color from the bottom up on these petals. You could go the other way as well. I just find it easier when I'm coloring in these petals. If I start from the bottom and work my way up, I don't go out of the lines as much on the bottom half. Then I'm going to take my purple and I'm going to pull it into that color. And this purple is the light violet number 081. Isn't that gorgeous? And now I'm going to blend it with the pink and blend those two together. And you'll see it changes a little bit as it dries. This one is the yellow green number 053, and I'm going to pull that in, and I'm going to top the back end to give it a little dimension with the mid green 046. And you can see that looks really pretty. Both markers look fantastic. This one is a little lighter than this one, and you can see for yourself. And now I'm going to do the same thing with these with blending with water. So I'm going to start with these Zigs and pull in my pink. And then to do the purple, I'm going to leave a little bit in the center here that's white, when I blend my water together. So I'm just going to grab a paintbrush and squeegee off a lot of the water. You don't want too much water, and just kind of blend them together like so. And this is going to give you a little bit lighter look than when you do just marker on marker. When you add the water, it's going to give you like a watercolor look, and it's always a little bit lighter, I find. And then if you want to go back in and add a little more, you can work with these markers while the paper is a little wet, which is a really nice feature. And I think I'm going to go a little darker here. Add a little more water again and just blend it through. I'm going to do the same thing with the greens. Actually, probably with the greens I won't even add any water. I think these colors are just perfect on their own. Okay, well now we'll do the same thing with the zigs. Just going to add some of the pink at the bottom, pulling it upward. Then we're going to add our purple just at the base, and then we'll blend the two together. And that's just leaving a little space for the blending to happen. All right, we take our brush and we're just going to pull the colors through and blend them together. Then I'm going to add a little more of the purple here. I thought that looked a little light. And I'm using a watercolor paper. I know I didn't mention that earlier, but this is a watercolor paper. And I find with these markers it's always best to use a watercolor paper so that the ink can move around a little bit better. If you use regular cardstock, it kind of sucks the ink up too quickly and you really don't have enough blending time. So there's some pinks and purples. You've got your Tombow on this side and your zig on this side. And you can see this is, the bottom is blended with water and the top section is marker on marker. Isn't that pretty? So then you can judge for yourself which one you like best. Do you like the Tombows or do you like the zigs? So we're going to go ahead and do some other colors because I find, you know, the colors are a little bit different, and that was blending two different colors. And next we're going to go ahead and try some yellows. We're going to see how the yellows compare to each other. Now I've already gone ahead and stamped these for you and marked which is the zig side and which is the Tombow side. So we're going to start with our Tombow. We're going to start with the 062, and I'm going to color in the entire flower using this really pretty light color. Then I'm going to go ahead and take this darker 025 and put it near the base area and in the center. And then I might go ahead and pull it up into some of the petals just to give it some dimension, more dimension here and there, just to pull the color around. Then I'm going to go ahead and take my lighter color again and just kind of blend those two colors together so I don't have any harsh lines. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing with the zigs, and you can see I've went ahead and really found colors that are almost identical. Like look at these two, for instance, the 025 of the Tombow versus the 050 of the zigs. You can see they're really close in color, so I thought that would be the best way to do a comparison. So now I'm going to take the lighter yellow, it's called lemon yellow, and it's 051, and I'm just going to color this entire flower in with the light yellow. Then I'm going to go ahead and add some dimension to it using the 050. And you can just come in at the base, add some color like so. You can go into each petal if you want, but we're just going to do this nice and quickly so that you can see the color comparisons. Then I'm going to blend it in again just so I don't have any harsh lines. Now you could leave it just like that if you like to, if these really blend nicely. And then I'm also going to add a little bit of gray to these flowers. Let's see here. I'm going to use the Tombow N75 and just kind of color in some of the center to give it a little darkness in the middle. I'm going with a lighter color here because it's a light color yellow. And then I'm going to use for the zigs the 091, which is a light gray, just to give it a little shadow in the center here. Okay, now we're going to go ahead, and for the watercoloring portion, I'm going to use the darker color yellow and just kind of come out from the inside and work my way outward a little bit. And then I'm going to, just to give it, I'm going to use some water and pull that color out to the tips of the petals. Because when you use the water with the markers, you're going to get just a slightly different look. It's a lighter color, and then once you have your color laid down, you can always add some more where you want a little extra darkness. Now you can see I've got a little darkness in the center, but now I want to add just a little into each petal maybe. And so I'll just go in right on top of that, right into the wet. And then you can see whether you like to work with them marker on marker, or if you like to work with them more as a watercolor. All right, and then I'm just going to take very little water and just blend that in so I don't have any harsh lines. And I'm going to do the same thing with the gray and pop a little gray in the center. Again, this is the N75. Now I'm going to take the yellow and do the same with the Zig Clean Color brush marker, and this is the 050. I'm going to start in my center so that I pull my darker color will be in the center, and then when I put the water on, it's going to be lighter at the edges. So this is how the yellows compare with each other. And that's why I'm doing a few different colors so that you can see, you know, how all the different colors compare to one another. We're just going to do a few colors, not too many tonight, or today I should say. Okay, and now I'm going to come back in with my dark again and just pull a little bit here and there where I'd like it to give it some more dimension. Oh, this looks so pretty. Doesn't that look so pretty? Okay, now we're going to take our gray and just give it a little darkness in the center. And there you have marker on marker, marker with water. Okay, you've got your Tombows on the left and your Zigs on the right. And so you can see the difference in the colors. So here we have some nice blues, and we're going to compare the blues. So we're going to start out with the Tombow 452, and I thought it was a really good match with the Cobalt Blue 031 of the Zigs. And then we also have our lighter color, which is the 451, versus the Zig, let's see here, 036. I thought this was about as close as I could get. And you can see the Zig is not quite as light as the Tombow, but it's going to be a really pretty combination. So I'm going to start with the lighter color and do just like we did on the first one on the yellow flower, and we're just going to color in the entire flower this really pretty light blue, the 451 on the Tombow. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab my darker color, which is my 452. I'm going to color in my center. I think the center looks nice in darker color, and then I'm going to add some darkness to some of the petals here and there. And if you see a little critter fly by here and there, it's because I'm out. My studio is outside, and when I opened the door today, I can't tell you how many little bugs flew in with me. It's a beautiful summer day, but it also brings little bugs. Okay, so now I'm going to come back with my lighter color and just blend that all together so we don't have any harsh lines. Okay, and then I'm going to grab a darker gray, which is the N55, and just kind of color in the center and a little bit of the edge of the center there, because I think that looks really pretty. So now we're going to do the same thing with our zig. I'm going to grab that lighter light blue, it's a 036, and color in my entire flower with that. Again, a really pretty blue. I love this color. And I don't know if you know, but I'll kind of talk about this too. We didn't discuss this yet. The zig markers have an actual brush tip. And you can see here when I push the bristles, there's actual bristles. Now the Tombow is a brush nib, and it's almost like a felt tip, but it's very flexible and you can really bend it when you're coloring, and it always pops right back. And it has two sides. You get the larger brush tip and then the smaller tip on these. Okay, so now we're going to take our darker color. We're going to add it to the center. And we're just going to do a couple little, add a little darkness into our petals. And then we'll blend that with our lighter color. We'll go back over it. I'm grabbing my lighter color, which is again the 036, and just going to blend those two together so that I don't have any harsh lines. And sometimes when you're using these, you might want to brush off your tip a little bit just so that you stay with your lighter color, because it will pick up the darker color, and sometimes you'll get even a medium color in there, which is actually a really nice feature. Okay. And I can always go back in and add a little bit of the dark again if I lost some of it here and there. That's what's fun, is you can really work these markers to get the exact look that you want. And they really, even marker on marker has a very watercolor look, I think, to both of these markers, as well as when you do it with using it with actual water. They look like you actually took watercolor paints and colored these. All right, so there we have marker on marker versus marker on marker. And I just used the gray, and the darker gray that I'm using here is a 094, which is a gray brown in the center of these, because these flowers are a little bit darker. So now when I use the watercolors, I'm going to again grab my darker color, and I'm going to color the center, maybe, and earlier we did from the center out, but you can actually do it this way too. Just kind of put some stripes into your petals and then blend them that way, and you'll get some dimension to each petal. Now I'm going to grab my water, squeegee it off so I don't have too much, because I can always add more if I feel I need to, but I always like to start off with a little less than I think I need rather than too much, so I don't oversaturate my paper. And I find that I like a regular paintbrush versus, I know a lot of people love the brushes that have the water in them already, but I kind of prefer your regular paintbrush, because I feel like you have a little more control as to how much water is getting on there as you're coloring. Now, if you lose a lot of your color, you can always, again, like I said, come back and add just a little more in there. This is a really pretty light color the way I'm doing it here. So you could go darker or lighter if you want. And then I just blend it through again. And that's a really pretty flower. Now I'll add some gray to the center. And we're going to do the same thing with the zig. And this is the Cobalt Blue 031. I'm going to add some to my center and do some of these petals here and there. Add some water to blend out my colors. you can see I'm just smooshing my colors around, not worrying too much, because this is supposed to look really loose and pretty. Alright, I'll grab a little of my gray, the gray brown 094, add a little to the center there. And there we have the water with the markers and marker on marker. So you kind of have an idea of the difference. This is the Tombow side and this is the Zig side. So you can compare the two. And that's where our pretty blues. So now we're going to move on to our greens. So here I've gone ahead and stamped out some of the leaves from the set, and I've got some great greens to show you here. So again, we're going to start with our lighter green. This is the the Tombow 133, and I'm just going to color in the entire leaf with this pretty light green. It's such a refreshing color. And I'm going to add to that in the center the 126, which is just a little bit darker, and I'm just going to pull this into the center like so, just to give it some dimension. And to blend that line, I'll go back with my lighter color and just kind of push it into the darker color. And what that's going to do is give me a darker color on the inside with a light bright color on the outside. And we're going to do the same thing with the zigs. This is the yellow green number 053. I'm just going to color in that entire leaf with this light pretty airy green. And I'm going to follow the inside, fill the inside with this mid green number 046. And I'm just going to pull that into the center. And then grab my light green and just kind of push it back into the darker green. I can push or pull, and I think that gives a really pretty look. Now we're going to go ahead and do the marker with the water. So for this, I'm just going to take the darker green and I'm going to put it right in the center of my leaf. There we go. And I'm going to add the water to it, and it's going to just pull this color out to the edges for me, so that I have a lighter color on the edge and then the darker in the middle. Isn't that easy? Alright, we're going to do the same for the zig side with our darker green. Just going to put it in the center here. And then we'll add some water and just kind of blend it out to the edge. Now this darker green has a little bit more of a brown tint to it, I feel. So I'm going to add a little bit of this lighter green, which is the yellow green, at some of the tips here. Because I feel like with this green, with the zigs on this particular color, I needed to do that to give that pretty brightness to it. So here we have all the different colors that we've done in this video. And there's one other thing that I wanted to talk about, is that with the Tombow markers, you can use this blending pen, and it's the N00. So what can you do with that? So let's actually stamp something out here just to show you another little thing that you can do with actually both markers, because I did find that you can use the blending pen from the Tombow along with the zig markers. So that's kind of a fun little trick. Alright, so we're going to just do a little blending here on that. The Tombow markers also, you can order this blending palette, and on the back of the palette for the Tombows, it shows you all the different colors. And what you can do with this is you can add a color, a darker color on this. I'm kind of going off track here, but if I were to want a medium color, I can take the darker color and scribble it on here. Then I can take the lighter color and push it into the darker color, and then you can get like a variance in color that way, or a mid-tone. You can also do marker to marker, and it doesn't hurt the markers, and you can do tip to tip like so, and just get a different shade, like an in-between shade. Okay, so now I've taken you a little off track, but we're going to get right back on track here. So let's see, how can we use this blending tool? All right, so we've got some pinks and purples, and I'm just going to show you real quick how you can take, let's just do one color. I'm going to grab the pink and do the tips again. And instead of using a paintbrush, you can take this blending pen and use it to pull the color and blend it together. Oh, and it works a lot like water. And you can see, look at that pretty shading I got with that. I could come in with the green and start at my base. And what you want to do is, in between colors, you're going to want to scrub off a little of the color that you had on there before. And then I can pull this green down after I've cleaned it up. Isn't that really pretty? But watch, if you want, if you like the use of these blending pens, you can do it. You can use that with the Zig markers as well. So I thought that was a really great little thing you could do. That way, if you don't have water with you, you can always carry one of these pens. Great for traveling. And I can then also blend it using the Tombow blending pen. And they sell these separately also, so I thought that was really neat. And I can take my green. I'm just going to clean it off in between and pull it through. So that's just another way of shading using the markers and a blending pen. So I hope you found this really helpful. Again, here's all the colors. This is the stamp set that we use, the Jabera Daisy stamp set, and it's at fbstamps.com, and I'll have all the links below. So thanks for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.